drop a like in 5 seconds or this spider will crawl on you tonight. I would like it if I were you guys.
These are the top 5 assault rifles in Warzone 2. These are the best loadouts, and I do believe that with each of these loadouts, you actually will be able to use them in base form as in no attachment. So if you don't have anything leveled up, don't worry, you'll still do good. So we're going to start out with the M4. It's just a variant called the Dragonfly, but you put on the M4 and we put on the Harbinger D20. Now the Harbinger D20 actually increases sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness, and I tuned it to max out the bullet velocity and recoil smoothness. Now, if you don't care too much about the recoil smoothness, you can actually max out the aim down sight speed, or you can just make it neutral. That's the weight right there. Otherwise, this is the best choice overall. Remember, we're playing Warzone, so you want to have good bullet velocity and range. I put on the high tower 20-inch barrel and maxed out the damage range and recoil steadiness. Like I said, with it being Warzone and this being the high tower 20-inch barrel, it maxes out the bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil control. Doesn't matter too much about the hipfire accuracy, but this is going to be fantastic for the long range gunfights with minimal amount of recoil. We're moving on to the VLK 4.0 optic. I didn't tune it because honestly I don't see a difference with the close and far, and if you want to help with the flinch resistance, I mean you can, but you're sacrificing the aim down sight speed. I think that there's no need to tune that. I put on the Sakin ZX grip and max out the sprint to fire speed and recoil steadiness. That way you can actually aim pretty well at a reasonable time versus, you know, aiming really slow and potentially losing the fight. To top it off, you get a 60 round mag. Now just show you guys how nice it is in firing range. To get some moving targets, absolutely melts, and long range is actually fantastic too. So, I mean, you guys saw I was a little shaky, but that was on me. This thing has basically no recoil. Just show you guys one more time. Boom. So, the M4 is a fantastic first choice, and it probably is going to be a lot of people's first choice because it's the first AR. Next, we're moving on to the Lockman 5.56, and this gun is actually so amazing. It reminds me of the Grawl more than anything. I put on the Harbinger D20 and maxed out the bullet velocity and recoil smoothness. Remember, like I said, these are all about controlling your recoil, the damage range, and the bullet velocity. I put on the 15.9 Lockman wrap, and I maxed out the damage range and recoil steadiness. Does the same thing as the Harbinger D20, so this is a very long range, very powerful weapon. I put on the F-Tac Ripper 56 and maxed out the aiming idle stability and recoil stabilization. Now here's the thing with this. This actually may not be the strongest one. I said in the previous video, the strongest one may actually be the Brune Warrior grip, but I put on high velocity, maxed out the bullet velocity and damage range, and 40 round mags. I didn't feel like 60 round was necessary. It kind of makes you a little too slow, and I still want to be able to actually ADS at appropriate timing. So just to show you guys in the firing range how good it is, no recoil, no recoil, no recoil. So it's really that good. But if we didn't want to use the F-Tac Ripper, if we wanted to go with what I said earlier, we can give you guys an example of just how good it is. I don't really think that you're going to see much of a difference. You actually don't have to tune anything. So now that you don't have to tune anything, go into the firing range and let's just see the difference. Still feels like no recoil. Truth be told, this actually might be the same amount. Yeah, just about the same amount as the F-Tac Ripper. So you just have to look at the pros and cons. For the Brune Warrior grip, the cons are hip walking speed and aim down sight speed. But for the F-Tac Ripper, it's aim down sight speed and walking speed. So this is actually the better choice. This is the best loadout for the Lockman 5.56. Third, we're moving on to the TAC 56, and this gun is so amazing. I still think it's one of the meta guns, even though it hasn't been talked about that much recently. Put on the Harbinger D20, max out the bullet velocity and recoil smoothness. Put on the 17.5 Tundra Pro barrel to max out the damage range and recoil steadiness. It increases the damage range and bullet velocity. So the recoil control is already taken care of with the Harbinger D20. Put on the VLK 4.0 optic, the FSS combat grip. I didn't tune this at all. I did not change this. It increases recoil control, but I didn't tune it anymore. This is perfect the way it is, and I put on the 60 round mag and just show you guys how powerful the TAC 56 is. Here we go. No recoil, no recoil, no recoil. Now, if you don't want to use the VLK optic, completely fine, but I do recommend using it if you really don't have any other choices. But like I said, if you don't want to use the VLK, take it off. You can put on high velocity, max out the bullet velocity, max out the damage range, and then use it as an iron sight and watch how good it does. Fantastic. No recoil. No recoil. Does so much damage. So whichever version you want to use, completely up to you. I think they're both fantastic, and you're going to absolutely shred either way. Next is the cast off 762. Now, this is one of my favorite weapons, and it was actually one of the first weapons I used in Warzone 2, and people didn't realize how it was actually meta. They just used the TAC 56. This actually kills faster than TAC 56, and it's the Castovia DX90 for the muzzle. I maxed out the bullet velocity and recoil smoothness. And then I used the Cast 10 584mm barrel, tuned it to max out the damage range and recoil steadiness, put on the VLK 4.0 optic, the Demo X2 grip to max out aiming out stability and recoil steadiness, and then I put on the 40 round mag. Go to the firing range to show you guys how powerful this is. Boom, literally melts, literally melts, literally melts. Faster TTK than the Scar, and like I said before, you could take out the VLK and put on high velocity, and it'll be an absolute tank if you just want to use the iron sight. Last but not least is the cast off 74U, and this is a hybrid of an AR and an SMG. So when you're using this, make sure you're aware of this. This is a fantastic weapon as an AR, but I'm suggesting this at short to medium range. Now, the Harbinger D20, I maxed out the bullet velocity and recoil smoothness. Then I put on the Schlager Peck Box 4, put on the Otritzat stock, tuned it to max out the aim walking speed and aim down sight speed, just because there was no point in changing the aiming idle stability or aim walking steadiness. I put on the Demo X2 grip to max out sprint to fire speed and recoil steadiness. And then last but not least, put on a 45 round mag. And just to show you guys how amazing this is. Boom. Oh, boom. And last but not least, the long range. Look how crazy that is. I'll just show you guys one more time. I'm not going to stop shooting. Let this actually come back. And boom. So just show you guys, it can be fantastic long range, but there are going to be those times where you're kind of whiffing the long range shots. This is definitely for the short to mid range, and if you get in a long range situation, doesn't mean you can't win it, but it's going to be a little tougher. Just as a bonus, I want to talk about this weapon right here. Now, this isn't an AR, but I still think it has one of the craziest TTKs, amazing accuracy, and amazing range. Now, this is actually an LMG, and it's called the Rap H. The Rap H is the last LMG, and I actually think it's the best long-range weapon overall. So, we're going to start out with the Castovia DX90. I put on the tuning of maxing out bullet velocity and recoil smoothness. You guys see it increases sound suppression, bullet velocity, recoil smoothness, and recoil control. Put on the Romeo FT 16-inch barrel, max out the damage range and recoil steadiness. I don't really think there's a better option, honestly. Like, everything else is kind of just for movement, and one's for hip recoil control and aim down sight. I just don't see the benefit in that. So I put on the VLK 4.0 optic, the Lockman TCG10, maxed out the aiming, idle stability, and recoil steadiness. It increases recoil control, which is going to be fantastic. Make sure you don't put on the 100 round mag just because it's unnecessary. It already has 75 bullets, so why would you need any more? I put on the Brune Warrior grip, and like I said, I haven't tuned this just because it's not necessary to actually tune, and the only downside really is aim down sight speed, which, I mean, honestly, you're not going to be ADSing this super quick anyway. Just to show you guys how amazing this is, though. This is how much you ADS. This is how fast you actually kill. And there's no recoil on it, and I still have 50 bullets. I'm going to show you guys one more time. I'm just not going to stop shooting. Absolutely insane, especially if you get one headshot. And this is me standing up. I didn't crouch. I didn't go prone. And here's something to show you guys in case you're mounting, which you're probably going to do in game. As soon as you melt, melt, 70 bullets, boom. Did it in 7 bullets at that range. You have to remember, that's extremely long range. This is going to be an amazing weapon to use.